so I was like, oh, okay, they're all in order.
Good morning, everyone. Am I on? Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the Thursday, March 9th, 2023 County Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Woodward?
Here.
Commissioner Mattingly?
Here.
Commissioner Barilla? Here.
We'll all rise for the invocation, please.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I'll move this in just a minute. Psalm 66, 16 through 20 says, "Come and listen." Can you put my glasses on? I apologize. Let's try this again. "Come and listen, all you who fear God, and I will tell you what he did for me. For I cried out to him for help, praising him as I spoke. If I did not confess the sin of my heart, my Lord would not have listened. But God did listen. He paid attention to my prayer. Praise God who did not ignore my prayer and did not withdraw his unfailing love from me." Father God, today we ask for your guidance. We ask for leadership in the direction that you would like to take us, allow us to take this county. Amen.
Amen. You'll follow me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag
of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
We've got a public hearing that needs to start at 9:05. Do you want to go ahead and start that now?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Matt
Good
Clark,
morning.
Otero County Emergency Services Director. We want to go ahead and spend our SRS Title III money in continuation with our partnership with South Central Regional.
South Central Mountain Regional
Yeah.
Conservation District. I got it.
That's it. We've been partnering with them doing forest clearing up in the communities, and it's a way for us to try and help protect the communities that are up in the forest. So that's what this is about.
Were you going to say something, Commissioner?
No, I was just kidding.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Okay, well, I think it's definitely needed. I mean, we need to do what we can to clean up our forest up there. So is this something we need to go ahead and vote on?
Well, I have some
Okay, you
questions.
have something?
I do. So when we partner with them, it's about the Firewise program, what they're implementing, right?
Correct.
And it's my understanding that we have contracted with them for 10-plus years?
At least.
Yeah. And the funding allows for different aspects, different programs. Do we have anything that shows that this funding, is what we're contributing up there, is actually working?
I'm not sure that there's a way to show that that's working, other than the fact that when they're going out cleaning up the properties, those areas generally have not had fire on them. So it's a hard area to judge, because just because it's being cleaned up doesn't mean that it's never going to catch fire.
So the Firewise website, their program shows that they have a list of counties that are in 100% compliance and participation, and Otero County is nowhere on that scale of participation. So I'm just wondering how successful it is, and if we need to change anything, go with a different program. How do you analyze this program as being the right program for us?
Just seeing the reports that we get from Laura Doth about what has been cleaned up and the help that it is for those citizens that really couldn't clean up, because it's a way that they can get onto private property to clean up private property and thin that. But I'll have to look into the Firewise, what else we have to do to get us listed on there.
Yep. I was just looking at comparative programs that we're allowed to use that money for. Did you look into anything else that might be more successful?
I have not.
That's all I have.
Matt, I have one question on regard for showing any kind of record on it. Is the slash pit tied to this program?
It is not.
It is not, so that's a separate,
Totally separate.
because I know the slash pit is a very successful program as far as the individuals, homeowners around the mountain area
Yeah,
to clean and bring their debris and stuff, so I would just.
that
wonder-
is a very successful program for the ones that can still get out and have the resources to clean up their property. And I believe that this one is successful as well. I'll have to reach out with Laura to get more information.
So because it's a public meeting, I just want to make sure everybody understands that this program is supposed to be doing some public outreach, program promotion, maintain a waiting list of interested landowners, collaborating with the Forest Department in identifying strategic locations for thinning the projects within the county, fielding questions from landowners interested in the program, setting up meetings with landowners to discuss potential projects, using forest standard to determine property eligibility, flagging treatment boundaries, writing prescriptions and treatment plans, GIS data collection and creation of project map, marking trees, working with both landowners and contractors on logistical issues relating to thinning efforts, inspecting projects, writing inspection reports for state forestry, processing payments and reimbursements to landowners or contractors, submitting required reports and requests for reimbursements to the state. Do you know how much of that's been done?
Almost all of that. Tony McWilliams is the forester that they're using, and he works in Tiburon, throughout Tiburon, holds meetings. Laura Doth publishes stuff off of the South Central RC&D website, and they're constantly having meetings with forestry about where they can work next, and Tony's having the meetings with landowners. We'd like to move over here. We think this is an area, can we get on your property to work? And they base everything off of the amount of money that they have coming in.
Do you have good participation at these meetings?
I would have to defer that to Laura.
So she's in charge of holding the meetings?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know there'd be interest up in Cloudcroft and all the areas in the mountains for this right now. If we could help with any of the meetings or getting them, getting people out, get the word out that there's going to be a meeting. And get some of those areas cleaned up.
And can we get her
Absolutely.
down here to tell us what she has been doing?
Yeah,
She's been the program director for 10 years, but,
She normally is here. Not sure why she wasn't here today. She was here at the last meeting.
Okay, any more questions?
No.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I just.
Do you still have,
Mm-mm.
you're good with it then? Because I was gonna say if we could wait one more month and have her here,
Mhm.
if you have more questions you wanted answered. I don't know if our timeline is open to that, but
It is.
I just want accountability. If we're going to give $26,000 towards something, and we've been doing that, and I need to see that it's been working. And so I just have questions about
Okay.
that.
so we can take this and bring it up in the April and make sure she's gonna be here to where she can explain the fine with y'all? Okay.
Okay, I move that we table this until the April meeting when we can have Laura Doth in attendance. Is that good? Okay, all right, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to go ahead now with an award presentation by the League of Women Voters.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Eileen Van Wee, and I am co-president of the League of Women Voters of Southern New Mexico, and this is Kathy Brooks. She's the other co-president. We have some other board members with us this morning as well. Edwina Jaramillo is our secretary, and Joel Galvan Nash is our public relations director. So the League has been giving out this Making Democracy Work Award for about 3 years. And so we were very pleased to present this award to Otero County Clerk Robin Holmes for her support and advocacy of legal elections. That was the title of the project that came in from the nomination made by Nadia Sykes, who is a member of the Otero County unit of the League of Women Voters of Southern New Mexico. The nomination form noted that Robin faced numerous challenges, special meetings, and scrutiny with regard to how she and the office of the county clerk conducted the 2022 election. She gave clear, concise explanations about state election processes and rules, and she defended voter rights, justified voting procedures, stood up for her staff, poll workers, and poll judges. So we're very pleased to present the Making Democracy Work Award to Robin Holmes. Robin, would you please come forward?
The award says the LWV-SNM, a nonpartisan organization, presents this 2023 Making Democracy Work Award for support and advocacy of legal elections to Robin Holmes, Otero County Clerk, Alamogordo, New Mexico. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate this award. You know, I love my job, and I couldn't be doing something I love better. And to do it with great people I work with, like Denise, who's my right-hand lady. I've got Lynn in here, Brittany's in here, LaTanya, all these great people I work with. I'm so very blessed to have, and that stood by me, and this is what we want, fair elections. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to move on now to approve the agenda, and I'm going to table item 13 under new business until our April meeting. I make a motion to approve the agenda. Did you want to?
No, go ahead. I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, when they're talking into this mic, it's ringing. Can you tone that down a little bit so it's not? Can you hear it, or is it just me?
I can't hear it. Can you hear any ringing?
I could hear the hum when
Yeah.
they were speaking, yes.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on now to our Sheriff's Office report.
Sure.
Good morning.
Cool, Sean.
We have some stats compiled here for the month of February to report to the commission. The patrol deputies responded to 2,784 calls for service in the month of February. Generated out of those calls was 203 investigative reports, 261 traffic stops. We conducted 50 traffic crash investigations. There were 62 arrests that were conducted. There were 6 arrest warrants and summons that were generated during the month of February. The Narcotics Division conducted 7 search warrants, which did result in 27 case reports. $8,614 in cash was seized, 5 vehicles were seized, 6 firearms were seized, and 7 fugitives were apprehended as a result of the execution of those warrants. 273 grams of meth, 16.5 grams of cocaine, 3,607 fentanyl pills. Street value of the illicit narcotics is approximately $95,471.
Amazing, thank you.
Special events and public relations. In February, there were 2 special events that were attended by the Sheriff's Office. There was a presentation that was conducted in the Chaparral School, and there was the Career Day that was conducted in Tularosa High School. We've started our new training year. with gusto, so we're trying to get ahead of our requirements for biennium and annual training requirements. Staffing, we recently conducted a physical fitness assessment, written test interviews. We started with 24 applicants. We ended up with 8 people who moved on to the written test, and we ended up with 6 candidates following that. We're hoping to find the top candidate. Currently, he's in the background phase to get him sent up to the next certification course in Santa Fe. And I stand for any of your questions, Commissioners.
This is a question that I always give Sheriff Black, so being you're taking his turn for him, I'll ask you today. I know that Rose Street and Bowles Acres has been an issue. My understanding is supposed to be in the courts.
We have arraignment on Tuesday.
I'm just letting you know, I went through there Monday night. It's worse now than it's ever been, as far as the narrowness with the vehicles out in the road and stuff. The other one on First Street, people are making every effort they can. They are replacing the windows, they're cleaning up. So that one is progress in the works, but the one on Rose Street is sitting very idle. So I would just, if you happen to be able to have somebody out there, if you could, if they are into the easement on the pavement, maybe they could either get them to move it or whatever. I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I hear by the 3,000 fentanyl pills that what the president's spokesperson said yesterday about fentanyl being, we're recovering less fentanyl than ever. I don't think that's a true statement.
As far as Otero County is concerned, if you go back to 2019, we'd heard of fentanyl, but we had never actually seen it on the streets in our jurisdiction. Flash forward a year and a half later, and fentanyl is now associated with every single, we have not executed any narcotics warrant yet that did not result in recovery of fentanyl. So it's becoming prevalent in our community. I can't speak to the rest of the nation.
From what I've heard, that there's been enough fentanyl seized that it could kill 5 billion Americans in the last,
It's
not,
highly legal, yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
over time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for everything you do.
I want to read a email that I got from the Department of Transportation. This is regarding the rock slide that we had up by the tunnel, but I didn't get it until after the last meeting. It says, Sheriff Black, I would like to thank you and your deputies for all your help with the rock slide on US 82. I really appreciate your deputies keeping an eye on my crew working traffic control at night. Also for the fast response time of your deputies when we had an upset motorist at the roadblock. It is always a pleasure to work with your deputies. If there's anything we can do for you, give me a call. Once again, thank you for all your department's cooperation. And it's the supervisor of NMDOT, Aaron Ald. I just wanted to acknowledge that. So thank you for that.
Really appreciated from our agency. It's very rare that we get flowers.
We like to share the flowers. Did you have anything, Commissioner? No?
That's
Okay.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sean.
Sean.
Commissioners, Matt Clark from Emergency Services. For the month of February, the volunteers responded to 176 calls. 119 of them were EMS with 16 fires, 7 of them being structure fires. Our codes opened up 31 new cases, 14 of them were solid waste, 12 of them were weeds, 5 of them were illegal burning. They closed up 27 cases, completed 1 fire inspection and 2 fire investigations. They closed up 57 follow-ups as well, continuing down for progression. They also went out and pump tested 7 departments and completed 31 trucks. The pump testing is required by NFPA and the State Fire Marshal Office to be done every year. And that's just something that my department goes out and does to help the volunteers out to keep them in compliance. And with that, do you have any questions?
My same question to you is, Sean, I just want you to be aware and be noting out there, yes, it's going through mediation, but the one on First Street again is still, they need to keep an eye on them. So, and Rose Street also.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Did you have anything?
What is the status of the hazardous waste on Sun Valley Road?
I apologize, I did not get an update on that.
And is there anything else that can be done on that property in Tularosa behind the Cortez gas tank?
There
We-
is nothing that we can do. It's, that one actually has a court date as well. So
Okay.
that has to settle out first.
Perfect.
And I will get back with you on the Sun Valley.
Okay, I think that's all I got. Okay, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Tom Porter, Otero County Road Department. So for the month of February, we had 2 more snowstorms that we had to respond to, 2 major wind events that we were cutting trees up all over the county. Ended up doing an emergency road repair on Waterfall West, and another one on Dry Canyon. We did some hauling in the patching in Chaparral, Otero, and Lonesome Dove area. And some culvert repair also on Waterfall West and on West Side Road.
Waterfall West, is that 99?
No, that's Dry Canyon. Yeah, I know. No, Waterfall West is off of the 130. It's one of the Lakeview subdivisions.
Have we got 99 back up to par?
99 is open as of yesterday afternoon.
I had to drive through Fresno the day the highway was closed that I called you about that, where they had that wreck. And that low water crossing's getting pretty rank in there. I mean,
Okay.
is that the one you're planning on? I went through two, but the main one was the main one. When you go through it's always got water in it, but now it's got
On there?
even more, yeah.
Okay.
Is that the one you were telling me that there's a plan to kind of work on that?
No, that's one of those because it always runs. We have to maintain it as we can, and if it's roughed up again, we'll get back in.
Yeah, it's just getting kind of deep, you know?
Yeah, with all the traffic that's been hitting it the last 2 months off of 82.
Mhm.
And the Appler project, how are we doing there?
Appler, my crew will be out of there probably next week until the paving and concrete work is done, and then we'll go back in and rip wrap. All the culverts are installed, and they're just doing a little touch-up on the finish of grade, and then Mesa Verde will be doing the base course and paving.
I think those people will appreciate that.
We've only had one that wasn't happy with it, but
Well, if you're doing everything what the project was doing, all those people around there, they should really appreciate it, because
They're
you're
all
cleaning up all their areas. And if you live on the other side of that ditch, to be able to get home at night should be a blessing, and be able to get out if you need to. So,
Well, I looked at it yesterday, it's beautiful. I mean, the culvert, it's beautiful. They should be happy.
I also got an email for you, Tom, from New Mexico Department of Transportation. Tom, I would like to thank you and your crew for your help with the rock slide on US 82. These were very large rocks in a tricky situation. With your help, it really sped up the process of reopening the road. It is always appreciated to know that we have a working relationship with the county to keep the traveling public moving. If there's anything we can do for you, call me. Once again, thank you all so much for your help and cooperation, and that's also signed from the patrol supervisor, all. So, thank you
Yeah.
for your work on that.
Aaron's been good to work with the last few years.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Tom.
Vicki, I just got a text from somebody said they can't hear on that microphone.
On mine?
The one in the desk.
Oh, on the desk?
Mm-hmm.
It zipped it up.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Trent
morning.
Parker, Project Manager.
morning, Trent.
We've had a pretty busy month. We're still working on closeouts for the detention center. I've gotten with the contractor to convey the urgency to get this process completed. So we're going to be working with them to push them along to get the last remaining items taken care of. The EOC, the electric service work was completed, fire alarm was completed, pending state inspection. We're hoping to have a substantial completion on that project this month. We also had the audio-video contractor come in and install the display screens and get them all up and running. Next week, we have the security cameras and access controls going in, and that'll have pretty much the last few pieces of that puzzle complete, pending the phone service installation for the new phones. But so that'll be good to have that one off the books. The PSAP dispatch, the metal stud framing is almost complete. We're waiting on the delivery of the door jambs. We tracked that delivery. We're supposed to have those by next week, and so they'll be able to continue on with drywall once the MEP's all completed, which they're in there working on that system right now. They also poured back where we had to take out some floor for the new restroom. They've got all that concrete placed back. They placed concrete on the outside, including the housekeeping pads for the new AC units. And so it's moving along pretty good. Right now we're at 102 days into this project, so it's so far staying right on schedule, which is very important on this one. The road shop building this month, we placed the slab for the new 50 by 100 road shop building, and the building was delivered, and they have it erected, and they're working on the sheet metal right now for it. Also, we got with the on-call architect, and they're preparing a proposal for electrical engineering to get electric to the building, and Tom and Eric are going to be budgeting to this upcoming year for doing the electrical install for that building. The Flickinger Center for Performing Arts building, we're doing the upgrade to the restrooms. We have that contracted, and we had a meeting with the contractor and the director, and we have that scheduled to begin on March 27th. And that we're hoping to only have a 30-day calendar period for that project and have those restrooms back open.
Jane, if we could back up just a second on the road shop building,
Mhm.
are they running a liner on the inside of that, of the building, or is it just strictly gonna be the insulation bare?
For now, it's only going to be the insulation. By the time they occupy the building, there'll be a partition wall to separate Tom's welding shop from Eric's maintenance shop, and then we'll liner panel it at that point. We're hoping to budget for all of that.
Okay.
But right now, we just had the money to pretty much get the shell of the building up and get the electrical engineering completed. We tried to stretch those dollars as far as we could. Next one is the Burl Flats Water Storage Tank project that we're doing for their fire station. The geotechnical survey is in the works, and once we have a report from that, we can get the foundation engineering and put in for permitting to get the concrete placed for that tank. The Tularosa Historical Museum, we're doing a solar upgrade. They received a grant to do a solar upgrade on that. We have that contracted, and they'll be here next week, Monday the 13th, to start that install. It's only forecasted a 3-day project to have that complete. This week, we had our on-call electrician come out, and the building had 2 electric meters on it, and we combined those 2 down to 1 meter to make the install a little bit cheaper and more efficient. The last one is the air fiber project that we're working on. This project will connect the dispatch center, the EOC, the NEU, and the sheriff's office, all with air fiber internet connection, which will provide our redundancy that we need for the phone upgrades that is happening, and other areas for dispatch and that type of stuff, because EOC is going to be our backup dispatch, so that's going to connect them with an additional system so that we don't have any outages. We have that work. It was awarded, we bid it out, and it was awarded to Advanced Broadcasting Services, and they'll begin that work also on March 13th, this upcoming Monday. And that's about all I have.
Trent, I just want to thank you for the tour you took my wife and I on last week at the detention center. It turned out beautiful. I just wish we could occupy the whole thing.
I'm working on
working. So
I've gone up the ladder a little higher to put pressure, so.
It was a very good job. It's a big addition to Otero County, I can assure you. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, hang on just a sec. This might be a question for Abe, but with our new phones, they're voice over IP, so they go through the internet. Am I right?
Yes.
If we lose internet connection, do we have any way to communicate within the county? Or are all of our phones going to be down?
That would be a question for you. That's part of the air fiber project, is this air fiber will connect dispatch, EOC, NEU, and the sheriff's office with a backup internet service, so that'll help in those aspects.
So like 911's not going to go down if we lose the internet?
Hopefully not.
Okay. That's my main concern, is that we have.
And the air fiber, a lot of our county internet service is through different providers, and so this will be through the same provider that we have for dispatch, but it'll be in different applications.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Commissioners, we had a death of a detention officer on Sunday. She was our only transport officer, so Nina has been filling in doing transports and will not be here today.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we were sorry to hear about Audrey Pinson. All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Item number 2, request approval of accounts payable bill list BL 30, 30A, 31, and 32. Number 3 is request approval of healthcare assistance claims and disposition claims for March 2023. Number 4, request approval of February 9th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Number 5, request approval of resolution number 03-09-23/111-39, 2023 annual certified county maintained mileage report. Number 6, request approval of resolution number 3-09-23/111-45 budget adjustments. Number 7, request approval to accept the road maintenance for Yucca subdivision phase 2, consisting of the following roads: San Ignacio, San Cristobal, San Marcos, San Luisa, and San Valentine, for a total of 2.3 miles. And number 8, request approval to award RFP 2023-010 Alamos Street Phase 2 bid Lot 2 to Lawless Dirt and Paving LLC in the amount of $1,548,900.99, excluding New Mexico gross receipts. Make a motion to approve the items. I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right. Do we have anybody signed up for the unscheduled communications? Thank you. Nan Barker.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Excuse me, I'm super nervous. I'm not really good at public speaking.
Don't be nervous.
So if I start to stutter, I apologize. Again, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Nan Barker, and my immediate apologies again if I forget the formalities as well, as I'm still learning all of this too. I am here to speak with you today about an event I held this past Saturday, March 4th. The event is coordinated and ran by a nonprofit foundation, the Friends of the NRA. This event is ran banquet style with a dinner, games, and held every year locally. You can also find this event ran by 7 to 8 other committees throughout the state, and is designed to raise money to go back into the communities of New Mexico, and more specifically to the user groups within the shooting sports. This was my second year running this event as committee chair, and I am saddened that this event was not as prosperous as last year's due to the exclusion of alcohol. In 2022, with alcohol service, firearms were kept and guarded separately from the alcohol space. Cards with pictures of guns were out on the tables. Armed security was present and available if the need arose. But we also had the guns there so people could see them in person. This helped with auctioning of items. We left the evening with no incidents. In 2022, our attendance was 50 people, and our total gross income was $44,537.80. After expenses, our committee net income going to the state fund was $6,228.25. In 2023, without alcohol service, firearms were out on all the tables. Firearms still were not touched. Armed security was still present, but auction items went for next to nothing as the participants had not been able to unwind and enjoy their evening. In 2023, our attendance was actually 45. Our total gross income was $25,613.67. Our total net income that went to the state fund was a negative $10,927.67. 3 groups here in Otero County asked for grants in 2022. That's the City Paul Gordon Shooting Range, the Otero County 4-H Group, and the Sacramento Camping Conference Center up in the Sacramento Mountains. In the past, over a 15-year period, I am told that about $40,000 came back to Otero County, which averages to $2,666 each year. Data given to me this morning reports that no more than $2,000 was brought home in any given year. Fully funding, or at least 90% in the case of the shooting range, all 3 groups with a total of $15,684.41 out of $92,000 that was in our pot this year. This is what I brought home to Alamogordo, to Otero County. This year, alcohol was excluded as there was no venues that would cater to having inoperable guns and alcohol in the same place, to include the fairgrounds. As noted in the contract that you guys see in your packet, you will see that it says no alcohol permitted. I have since talked with the board of directors and we will come to a solution, but to be denied within the city and the county to have these 2 items together for an event due to laws and regulation made it difficult to have a great attendance. State law states that inoperable guns and alcohol can cohabitate in these events. And you can see the rest of my speech in that packet.
Thank you very much.
And if you guys want to do something and you want to have me on an agenda item, I'm more than willing to come and speak with you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Marcia Sturman.
Morning.
Good morning.
This is the law as written pertaining to the United States Forest Service. We read to you from their manual in the last 2 meetings. All public lands designed and preserved prior to June 4th, 1897 by the President of the United States under the provisions of Section 471 of this title, the orders for which shall be and remain in full force and effect, unsuspended and unrevoked, and all public lands that may hereafter be set aside and reserved as national forests under said section shall be, as far as practicable, controlled and administered in accordance with the following provisions. No national forest shall be established except to improve and protect the forest within the boundaries or for the purpose of securing favorable conditions of water flows and to furnish a continuous supply of timber for the use and necessities of the citizens of the United States, but is not the purpose or intent of these provisions or of said section to authorize the inclusion therein of lands more valuable for the mineral therein or for agricultural purposes than for the forest purposes. Lee would like to remind you that the Forest Service is not invincible. They have trampled constitutional rights every day since their inception. Ranchers have been abused ad nauseum for decades, and we the people say enough, hold them accountable. Witness the atrocity of using helicopters with snipers terrorizing cattle in the Gila. This alone gives you an idea of what they will stoop to further their agenda. The wanton waste of food should alone cause the public to be alarmed. While that did not take place in this county, don't think for a second, if given a chance, they wouldn't try that here.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah.
Can I get a copy of that? Okay.
Thank you.
I would like a copy of that too. All right, Chuck Andreas, or another it says. I'm not sure who the another is.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Chuck
morning.
Andreas, also known as Grandpa Chucky. Somebody thought it appropriate to read this email that was sent on June 15th. So I'll just start off. Good morning, Commissioners, staff, and public. I've run through this. In light of the videos released in our community over the last few weeks concerning our schools and specifically the superintendent, Mr. Moore, I've heard people say regarding these videos that have been altered because Mr. Moore appears to be a very nice man. He would never say anything like that. But we all know we can't believe everything we see or hear, and each of us needs to discover what is truth versus fiction. I want you to think of camouflage or a little chameleon and how it changes its color to blend in with surroundings to avoid detection. Also think of stealth airplanes. A brief history of these prior events. After researching APS on May 18th of last year, I gave a 3-minute presentation to Albuquerque Public Schools on problems and then some possible solutions. Each member got to receive the 16, and including the superintendent received 16-page document with references and a contact email to me. I requested a dialogue within 15 days. By June 2nd, we had no response, nothing, crickets. On June 9th, I gave a abbreviated 25-minute PowerPoint presentation to the county commissioners here. The response from you and the public was positive, but nothing from the schools. So then on June 15th, Mr. Moore decided to show up at a regular Alamogordo Chamber of Commerce, or the City of Commerce, and now to make a comment. Now, it's common sense, ethical and professional. If you have a problem with someone, you should approach that individual first, right? Well, I'm going to read this email that was sent that day of June 15th by Lori Black. Superintendent Moore, I would like to express my sincere disgust in your behavior at the Center of Commerce board meeting today. Your behavior and vile description of a fellow community member was disturbing. Referring to Mr. Chuck Andreas as Grandpa Chucky and his band of misfits was a little disturbing, that's a quote. Referring that he, quote, belonged to an international group that was wreaking havoc on school boards throughout the nation, end quote, is a total and complete lie. Mr. Andreas is a local concerned citizen and is exercising his right to free speech and truly wanting to see positive changes in our school system. But the absolute worst and most vile thing you alluded to was to say that, quote, Grandpa Chucky was probably watching porn before he showed up at one of the meetings, end quote. Unbelievable, unbelievable that a man in your position would make such a horrific, defaming accusation of another citizen of our county. I know Mr. I'm going to skip that. I personally going to visit with Mr. Andreas and let him know exactly what you said, sir. I have 13 other witnesses, and I pray that he sues you for defamation of character. I am respectfully requesting the school board members to reprimand you immediately, and I would like to see a written apology to Mr. Andreas. Guess what? I've heard nothing since June 15th, not a word, not a peep, and it upsets me, should have upset every member of our community that this type of stuff is going on behind the scenes. So, thank you. I wanted to read that part, somebody suggested it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you for keeping up the fight.
And I don't know how, Chuck's on here twice. He said he was reading that for another, and
Yes,
then.
this one's for me,
Okay, who were you reading it for the,
for me.
I know, but the first time,
That was for somebody else who suggested I read that email, which I have been hesitant about doing that.
how do we do that?
I just want to.
You get 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's just public record.
Well, you get to speak for 3 minutes.
Okay, so
That's-
this one's for me though, is that the one?
You just spoke.
You
to
signed
the-
up twice.
Yes.
You can only
Yeah.
sign
You
up
can't-
once.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Christy Soulsby?
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Christy Soulsby with Wilson and Company. I just wanted to provide a brief update on some of the projects that we've been working on for you. We have the Riata Road south of Pecos Bridge that we're working on, and that should be fully designed and completed by the end of March. And then we also have the Suzie Ann Bridge and Wood reconstruction that we're designing that should be fully designed by the beginning of April. And I just wanted to provide you an update of that. We're definitely grateful for the opportunity to work with the county on all of our projects and look forward for the construction management of Alamo Street Phase 2.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Eliza Kretzman?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sign up to speak.
Oh, okay, okay. Joni Ellis?
Got some fancy swirls.
I know, it took me a minute to read it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Joni Ellis, and I have a question. When in this state has a Democrat done anything or something for the Republicans? I can answer my own question. This speaks volumes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. Item number 10, discuss and consider joining the New Mexico-Arizona Coalition in efforts to promote stable economic growth. And I put this on the agenda because I've been attending some of these meetings, and we've got, let's see which counties are in it in New Mexico and Arizona.
12.
There's 12, and,
So 12 in New Mexico,
Yeah.
4 in Arizona.
yeah, in New Mexico, we have Catron County, Chavez County, Eddy County, Harding County, Hidalgo, Lincoln, McKinley, Sierra, Rio Arriba, Roosevelt, and then in Arizona, Apache, Cochise, Gila, Graham, and Navajo. And I would like for Otero County to join in this coalition because this group of people fight for the same thing that we're fighting for here. They're having issues with the Forest Service, with their ranchers. They've got the wolf issues over there. They're actually the ones that, the Gila is actually where the Forest Service is doing the aerial shooting of the wild cattle over there. And by joining this group, it pools our resources, and they've got a wealth of knowledge. I've learned a lot just by going to their meetings. So that's why I'm bringing it to the board to see if they would be willing to pay the fee of $2,600 for an annual membership. And those fees go to help fight this type of thing. And so that was my ask. Do you guys have any questions, or have you ever listened to any of the meetings?
I haven't listened to them, but I've asked several questions about this here. I am in favor of it. If you look at all the counties in New Mexico, they're like Commissioner Marquardt said, they are joining with the Forest Service fight. The more faces that we have, the stronger we'll be when we go up against the Forest Service. So I'm in big favor of this. Mr. Nichols informed me this morning that we used to be in this coalition, and it dissolved in.
It was prior to 16.
So Otero County has been involved in this before, so I'm a big favor of it. When you counted off the counties, that's a third of the New Mexico counties. 12 out of the 33 are involved in it, so it's more than a third. If we join it, it'll be 13. So it's something that it's a strong handhold.
Would you guys like me to read you the mission statement so you'll kind of know what it is?
Yes, please.
Okay. Protect the rural economies of Arizona and New Mexico. Educate the public on the issues facing rural Arizona and New Mexico. Organize and encourage community involvement and support on issues confronting federal land users. Reinstate and reinforce the integrity of the federal land multi-use policy. Maintain or increase the economic base which results from the management of our federal lands, including employment, public and private revenue and taxes. Establish, define, and protect the vested rights of individuals and industries heavily dependent upon utilizing resources from federal lands. Seek a proactive solution to county economic problems which both protects and enhances plant and animal species listed as the threatened or endangered under the Endangered Species Act, and at the same time reduces the negative effects of ESA restriction on state, federal, and private land use and development. Seek to establish an equitable balance of wildlife, livestock, forage allocation, and mandate management of wildlife numbers in compliance with the share of forage which is allocated for wildlife. Work to prevent the taking of vested property rights by state or federal regulatory agencies without guaranteeing the payment of just compensation. Seeking to enforce Presidential Executive Order 12630 at the federal level and seek state legislative patterned after this executive order. Address timber, mining, wildlife, and grazing issues along with any other appropriate multi-use issue on federal lands by offering solid technical advice in a professional capacity. Monitor the implementation of existing regulations, i.e. the ESA, and the introduction of new regulations which will ultimately impact management on private and federal lands and vested property rights. That's it in a nutshell. So it's a good thing for Otero County to do. So.
If we join on to this, how do we ensure that Otero County has a voice in a
Well,
seat in the meeting?
I'd like to ask that I can be on the board because every county gets a vote, And so since I've been kind of involved with this for about the last year, I'd like to put myself forward as to be our representative, but everyone can watch the meetings. A lot of them are on Zoom. And so any of us can watch, but we'd have a vote.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah, yeah.
And it's important because they're going to be organizing meetings with BLM, the Forest Service, and all of that as well. It's not just about public awareness, it's trying to reach the Forest Department.
It is. Do I need to
In
put my-
addition, they have a lobbying arm, and so they travel to the New Mexico and Arizona legislatures when they're in session and advocate on these issues, and then they also lobby Congress, so that's another added benefit.
So when we put this to a vote, do I include myself to put my name in there? Do we need to do that? Okay. Do you have any more questions? Or-
I'm just,
Okay. Flip back through my book. Okay. I make a motion to consider joining the New Mexico-Arizona Coalition in efforts to promote stable economic growth, and also to put myself on as the board member for Otero County. I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, number 11, request approval. Oh, thank you. Request approval of resolution number 3-09-23/111-42, approving the code of civility. Would you like to read that since it's yours? I know.
So I'm just bringing this to the meeting because it's been really nice having civil, respected meetings, and I just want to continue that momentum going forward. And so I found this code of civility, whereas the Otero County Board of Commissioners meets every second Thursday of the month to conduct and resolve county business. And whereas the Board of Commissioners would like to create a culture where everyone is heard and welcome, whereas respect is the only way to treat all attendees, staff, and elected officials, and in a professional, courteous manner at all times. Whereas kindness shall be practiced and everyone refrain from using profanities, insults, or disparaging remarks. Whereas truth and only the truth shall be cited and not knowingly misrepresented, mischaracterized, misquoted, or information received from others. Whereas responsibility shall be displayed by all for their own actions instead of blaming others. Whereas cooperation shall be practiced with all attendees, staff, and elected officials. Whereas privacy is everyone's right and refrain from talking about others. Whereas non-discrimination shall be practiced by respecting the differences of others and their ideas, opinions, and reject bigotry. Now therefore let it be resolved that we, the Board of Otero County Commissioners of Otero County, do hereby sign the Code of Civility.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
So I'd like to make a motion that we accept it.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank
I,
you.
for one, agree.
Thank you.
Okay, number 12, request approval of resolution number 3-9-23/111-43, Youth Empowered and Strong Program. It's also Brother.
Is, and if I could have my presenter, Todd Hawthorne, come up here, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Todd Hathorn. I'm here in my capacity as a private citizen of New Mexico and a taxpayer, and that is all. The submission that you have before you is a resolution that is designed to put pressure on the school system. I won't change my position on that. They need to hear from us about what is good and right in this county, and in particular in this country. And I'm presenting this to Otero County first, mostly because of my profound respect from the other times that I've been here, and I appreciate the manner in which this commission has moved forward. The resolution itself is about the program called YES, or Youth Empowered and Strong. And I want to give you a brief history of the program so that you know what it is that we're advocating for. It is the organization is called CareNet, and it is a pregnancy care organization. It's been around for a long time. My mother-in-law actually was a board member, the founding board member in Santa Fe, of all places. And so some of this is in respect to her. What this resolution does is it lays out a positive case. It is in opposition to what Planned Parenthood does and talks about and the way that they operate. Discussions about Planned Parenthood and abortion, we are in a post-Roe world, or actually the way I like to describe it now is a new Dobbs versus Jackson world. It's a different place. This is a place where we can actually talk about the positive elements of the positive power of procreation, the things that are good about our country and about this county and our school system, and the parents and the students that have to live within that system. In particular, this program has been accepted and acknowledged by PED. It originally started under CareNet as a way to counter what was happening with Planned Parenthood. It is about building good relationships, solid human relationships between people to be able to deal with the issue of sexuality and procreation. It is a science-based program that's been taught in in two school districts, the Espanola School District and Santa Fe County. Those were pre-COVID presentations. The program was very successful and accepted. And if you think about that just for a minute, where these things occurred, the previous resolution actually adds a lot to the value of this resolution because they are differing ideas, but they don't have to be confrontational. The positive power that we're discussing here is the ability to deal specifically with human sexuality as it develops and the way that it moves forward. It doesn't get tangled up in discussions about gender. It is a science-based program, and it is focused on getting information into the heads, the minds, and it empowers the parents. This discussion is, because it's accepted by PED, has been accepted by PED, it can be accepted here, should be accepted in every school district. This resolution is being presented to you first. This county has an opportunity to change the direction of discourse on this issue. This is not about confrontation, it is more about the positive materials and information that's there. I just remind the commissioners and this county about how we actually do representation in the state of New Mexico and in the country. It's by the number of people that are here. We barely kept up with just basic birth rates in New Mexico. There is nothing wrong with having a prosperous and flourishing population. And you'll notice that the resolution takes those positive terms. It is not about confrontation. It is much more about being able to work together in order to teach our children what, first of all, the meaning of sexuality and the meaning of procreation. Talking about those things in positive terms. It does not, I will tell you what it does not do. It does not deal with puberty blockers in a negative, it doesn't advocate for those particular positions. It stays focused on human relationships and the way that they should move forward. To the arena of discussing why this body should adopt a resolution. It is the health, safety, and welfare that you're concerned with. That is your charge and your duty. It is clear that there are issues in the New Mexico educational system that need to be addressed. And there need to be venues where these things can be discussed with the intent of improving the health, safety, and welfare. This positive approach would be a counter to what's being presented in the school systems today. Right now, the many contracts with the school system are sole source contracts. And those sole source contracts are exactly what it says. I don't have to educate you on a sole source contract, but it's not the only means of being able to get information in the school district, and therefore it's not really a sole source. This would allow for competitive bids. It would allow for competing ideas. It would allow for the First Amendment to flourish in this county. And the circumstance for us is to be able to be in a place where those discussions happen in an environment that is respectful, where those ideas are allowed to clash, and it's okay to clash with ideas, but not the people, to not be demeaning about those issues. And that is definitely the goal in talking to a county entity about what's happening to their school system. We don't have to dig too far. We all know. It's a statewide conversation. I'm in Rio Rancho, and I saw it, the videos about Otero County the day they were posted. We all know where this stuff is coming from and where it's going to. This is a positive way to solve the problem. It is advocating for a clear and concise opportunity for these ideas to be presented in the school system and to teach our children what it's like to have competing ideas without it being contentious. And that's the reasoning behind asking for this county to put pressure on the school board. And it is. Again, I won't apologize for that at all. It is your job and your duty, and I know you take those duties seriously.
Would you like to read the resolution?
I would.
Can I say something before you read it?
Sure.
Down here, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 paragraphs down, and it says that our representative democracy, we're actually a representative republic. Could we change that, just so that it's known?
Yes.
Okay.
I get corrected about that in other venues. You'd think I'd learn. I'm a little slow. I apologize, Commissioner. But yes, absolutely. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
It is a republic.
Exactly.
Thank you. So it's resolved supporting youth empowered and strong programs. Whereas it is this body's belief that the conditions of human flourishing are best found and nurtured in a civil society. This means solutions to problems are best found in local communities. And whereas a vibrant civil society provides families the opportunity to educate children in schools that affirm their own religious and moral values. And whereas it is the obligation for schools to educate children to be well-rounded and productive citizens. And whereas the essence of productivity is rooted in the working knowledge of our government and our national history. And whereas productivity is clearly embodied in the United States Constitution as the method of determining apportionment of our representation is that of those of the states, and most population are granted a larger number of seats in our national government. And whereas depriving persons of any race, color, creed, religion, gender, or national origin of their God-given constitutional rights is antithetical to the core beliefs of the Republic and our representative to change the word republic.
Thank you.
And whereas our strength and vibrant society is in a very different set of individuals and their ideas, the diversity must be nurtured. And whereas the Youth Empowered and Strong program is a 501c3 program, and whereas the YES program meets all of the requirements of the state of New Mexico to provide sex education in the state of New Mexico school districts, and whereas the YES program is locally sponsored, originated, and administered and funded, and whereas the YES program has already been successful in the communities of Espanola and Santa Fe, and whereas the YES program is a relationship-based education program focused on improving participants' ability to establish and maintain enduring healthy relationships, I should say healthy, not health, healthy relationships, including skills that reduce sexually risk based on sound science. Sexual risks based on sound science. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Otero County Board of Commissions believes that inclusion of such programs in the classroom is critical and the necessary element of meeting the local community's desire of an educational environment. And further, be it resolved that the Otero County Board of Commissions believes that our educational system at all levels should be focused on equipping every student, regardless of race, creed, socioeconomic status, with the knowledge and skills needed to achieve the American dream. And whereas Further, be it resolved that the Otero County Board of Commissioners uniformly believes that the YES program would provide a more diverse set of instruction for our students, and that therefore be it further resolved that the Otero County Board of Commissioners does hereby request the Alamogordo School District staff to develop a policy ensuring that Youth Empowered and Strong program will be utilized by staff and available for every student in the school district. Adopted this day, March 9th, March 23. Stand for questions.
Okay. Anything
I
to
don't
add,
have
or-
any questions. I just,
You have any?
due to recent events, I felt that this was important, that we make a stand in the direction that we want our schools to go, and hopefully we can get more of our elected officials to make this stand and push our schools a little in the right direction.
Did you have any questions?
There's a lot of diversity in this, whereas a lot of things can come in from those diversity. And I think sexual education should start at the home and not in the schools. And until you get God in school, you're not going to get anything done in our schools to make a change. We've got to change, and there's a lot of change, and I don't like the way the schools are going. And PED sometimes is, I think, is bad. Have a lot of bad education to the parents. And I just don't agree with a lot of this stuff that he's saying. I agree with some of it, but I sure don't agree with all of it. And more people get in there, more people coming in, giving the schools diverse things and changing it this way, more people get involved, and more sexual education, more moral education, more diversity between blacks, whites, and whatever. I don't like it. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a few things to say. Number one, I have my own opinion on some of the racist sexuality and stuff like that. Number two, I couldn't find anything on this program on any website or anything. So until you just kind of talked a little bit, I had no clue what this was. Number three, the county has no say-so in any of the school board meetings. They have no power to say anything, and I would not want the school board to come and tell the county what to do with their business.
Amen.
The other item I have is the county has just finished $15 million plus project out there at the jail. I feel the county, if we're gonna put effort into things, it needs to be into some type of a national hiring program deal to try to fulfill this deal so our citizens of Otero County can utilize this jail. The other thing is, and one of the big things, you're directing this to Alamogordo School Board, okay? Otero County has Muscalero School District, Tularosa School District, Cloudcroft School District, Chaparral School District. Has no authority to any of them. And that's pretty much all I have to say on that.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes,
may I?
sure.
So, first of all, the First Amendment is beautiful. It's just gorgeous. It allows for diverse conversations to happen across the board. And I know some members might see the term diversity and think that it's bad. The short answer is diversity is the value that we need to uphold. We need to be able to hear. Not everybody's right all the time. Not everybody's wrong all the time. And being able to have those ideas expressed in an open forum, in an open meeting, is critical to our continued success as a nation. And I don't apologize for the use of that code word, diversity. It's not code. It's a carefully chosen word. To answer directly, Madam Chair, to Chairman Matherly, my response is really pretty simple. Is because the First Amendment is so beautiful, you actually do have power, and that power comes from the ability to adopt. And I am more than happy to add every single school district to this resolution in order for it to have more impact. You having a say is about being an American. It is about being able to speak from a platform which you have been granted. This is a platform that doesn't restrict your ability to have an opinion. You do have opinions, and I understand that, as do I, as do every member in this room. We're spending, a Thursday morning here instead of other places, and we're choosing what we do with our time. So I fully respect the fact that you have an opinion. In fact, I encourage the fact that you were elected to a position of power and authority to protect the health, welfare, and safety. And I consider the education system to be part of that. They're not going to tell you what you can or can't do, and my guess is there'll be a lot of discussion if you adopt this resolution about what that looks like. Arguing for diversity is the way to be able to make sure that the First Amendment, that the robust public discourse continues. I never apologize for the opportunity to have elected officials speak. I don't always agree with elected officials in my own county. Call them, ask them. They'll be able to tell you. But I will tell you this, they never tell me to sit down and shut up. They never tell me that it's none of my business. And I actually think being in a position of a county commission gives you a unique, not just an opportunity, but an obligation to teach, to show what that diversity can look like. And exchange between agencies, I'm sure that they have opinions about your resolutions. I'm sure that they have opinions about your budget. I'm sure that they have expressed the concern about what the commission says and does. So, and I'm asking for this resolution in order to encourage that, in order to make sure that the principles that America was founded on are upheld.
And there's no monetary ask of the county for this, is that correct?
No, your pocketbooks are safe.
Okay, that's what I was, well, I'll just say a few things that I got out of this. I agree that word diversity it's kind of being weaponized. There's a lot of words, equity, diversity, a lot of those are becoming kind of weaponized to where you instantly hear them and your mind goes one way or the other. But when I see this in diversity, I think that the schools are kind of teaching one way right now. This will bring in another thought process. It doesn't eliminate the other, it just gives you a choice. So that's why I'm for it, because we need to help our schools as much as we can. But most of all, we need to help the kids in those schools, and we need to help the teachers, that they've got somebody that's on their side to try to make some change, some positive change. And so I would have to say that I think this is a good idea, and I would be in favor of this.
Because of the conversation, I can remember in 4th grade, our sex education, separated by girls, boys, and the girls were taught how to use, how to become aware of their menstruation cycle, and I don't know what the boys were taught. That was it. Now over at the...
Not that.
Last year, I believe, at the White Sands Missile Range, a kindergarten class was taught with puppets of safe places to touch. And they actually went into explicit detail of those places with those puppets to touch. That is absolutely unacceptable to me for that kind of sex education. And so I want it to go back to what is acceptable for sex education, and I believe that this resolution does that, and that's why I support it.
Okay. Did you have anything else, Commissioner? Any questions? Okay. All right. All right, thank you very much.
Can we vote on it?
Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resolution as presented with the amendments.
To the Republic, I'll
Yes.
second it.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
did you want to include the other school districts in that as well?
I think that would be a good idea since they're all in Otero County. Absolutely. Okay, I'll second it with the changes, the addition of the other schools. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a question? No. No? A comment?
I agree with Carol.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're skipping 13, so moving on to 14, request approval to schedule and advertise a public hearing for an ordinance establishing a franchise agreement with Chaparral Cablevision. Do you want to speak to this, RB?
Sure. So, good morning, Commissioners. Essentially, what a franchise agreement is it's an agreement, a formal agreement between a local government and a utility seeking to operate in that jurisdiction of that local government. And it presents an opportunity for the local government to give guidelines and parameters and negotiate with the utility company, and the utility company can make offers of certain benefits, such as if they're putting up utility poles, the county can potentially use those as well, things like that. So we have a couple franchise agreements. We've actually had a franchise agreement with Chaparral Cablevision going back to 1990. Per the law, the agreements can only last 25 years, so that first one expired in 2005, and it was renewed, and then this last one expired in 2020. And it continues even after the expiration, but it's good to go ahead and have an agreement in place, and it provides you opportunity if you want to examine any of the parameters within the contract to make changes or requests. We do have the ability to charge fees to the company. It's a way for the county to make money. I have written this agreement, just updating it from the previous versions, but I did not add a fee because we didn't charge them a fee previously, so just kind of looking at what's fair. It would be arguably unfair to start charging them now, but that's something for you to consider. But for the process, we have to adopt an ordinance as part of that, and to do an ordinance, we first have to have a public hearing. So all you're considering today is approving and scheduling the public hearing. We can do that next month, our next meeting, and during that time, you can review the agreement and make any changes or ask questions about the details at that time.
Okay. All right, so I make a motion to schedule and advertise a public hearing for an ordinance establishing a franchise agreement with Chaparral Cablevision.
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. And we'll put that on next month's agenda, okay. All right, number 15, Jan Waffle is requesting renewal of a letter of endorsement appointing her as the New Mexico Film Office statewide liaison, along with the maximum $1,000 budget for equipment and services and office space at the Otero County Admin Building. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. I spent yesterday up at Cloudcroft working at Career Day, telling all their classes about film careers in New Mexico and the burgeoning film industry and what kind of jobs and what kind of income would be available for trained film professionals here in New Mexico. So for the last 4 years, I want to thank you for supporting the Otero County Film Office, the economic development that comes into our community from all of the commercial and the feature and the music video world. And it has quite an impact on us. It's a very low profile industry. In other words, people come, they take pictures, we blow their footprints out with a leaf blower at White Sands, and you never know they've been here. It's the most, the lightest carbon footprint of any kind of industry that you could support. There is no garbage, there's nothing generated like in manufacturing endeavor, and it's a wonderful industry to bring money and new dollars into our community. And that's products, goods, services, people who are employed, lodging, restaurants where they eat, all of that. But I believe you're all familiar with that. I do have a PowerPoint for you today that I'd like to go over and go through.
Sure.
Just to do an update on the New Mexico Film Office and film here in Otero County.
Okay.
It's attached to the item A.
On the cover of this paperwork you gave us, is this 13 Strong? Is that the movie?
12 Strong.
12 Strong.
Mhm.
That was a good movie.
Yes, ma'am.
An excellent movie.
And
That was filmed in New Mexico?
yes, ma'am. Some of the people in
I
here
am
will
so
remember
excited
visiting
about
the
it.
set.
It was such a good movie. And it's a true story. Even better.
And except for the studio clips where they were getting their mission and then coming back from their mission, everything was filmed within Otero County out at Oro Grande Mines up at the Iron Queen. And then on the missile range itself, because it was a military story, we had Department of Defense approval from Los Angeles Department of Defense that deals with the entertainment industry.
Oh, that's awesome.
I do have it on a flash drive if we need it.
It's attached to the item.
Is it? Okay.
How many films were you able to bring in over the last year?
Over the last year, we're really starting to see an uptick. The last 2 years, of course, everything has been repressed. And, but we were still doing car commercials, high fashion photography. That is our bread and butter. It is not feature film because we have no studio. So everything has to be on location filmmaking. But we still were fortunate enough, like with 12 Strong, to get a lot of the feature film that does come in. And we'll do 2 or 3 days of shooting for a certain location and then leave. Presently, I helped with location scouting for 14 films during COVID. And I kept track of that just because I wanted to see how many inquiries I actually got. And scoutings in person, I only did about 4 that we were able to do. That was me going to the site and meeting them and everyone being masked, and there's a protocol through the state that they have to follow that is on the New Mexico Film Office website. They have to have a COVID compliance officer on set, and there are a lot of things that were put in place for that strange time that we were dealing with. So now things are quite a bit different. Yes, the first slide presentation, you'll see Chris Hemsworth that plays Thor normally for Marvel, and he and Austin Stoll. Austin Stoll was the captured pilot on The Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks, one of his better movies. And along with them came Michael Pena and Michael Shannon. Michael Pena is in Ant-Man, and Michael Shannon was the villain in the Superman movies. And he's gone on to do a lot of critically acclaimed work in the movie industry, and we had them all here at that time. We were able to go out and visit the set, and I was actually able to go out with another contingent of people and watch them do the second unit explosives for the fighting scenes that were done on the missile range back up in the hills behind Tularosa. I was able to go visit that and see the pyrotechnics. I want to see the explosives. So, because there is such safety protocol that it's fascinating to watch all of that go off the way that it is supposed to. And the protocol and the safety officers is my concern. So, next slide, please. Here's an overview. The Otero County Film Office operates under the State of New Mexico Economic Development Division as part of the New Mexico Film Office statewide liaison network. The Otero County Film Office has been an Association of Film Commissioners International registered office in the past. Now, AFCI is the world server to all the studios, whether they are in Los Angeles, in Calgary, in Atlanta, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, in Hong Kong, in Indonesia. We get the inquiries through AFCI, and they are sent out to all the film liaisons in the world. There's like 364 that belong to AFCI worldwide. and the Bahamas, Hawaii, all of the states, we all belong to that. This had been paid for through economic development and through the Economic Development Board that the city had supported at that time. I was able to attend AFCI University, and I have all of my university courses. If I were able to go back to AFCI Symposium one more time, I could have a CFC behind my name, a Certified Film Commissioner, which is recognized by Economic Development worldwide. All I need to do is apply for that final thesis on film festivals, because this is the 20th year of the Desert Light Film Festival that I've been assisting with. So AFCI educated, I got my registration and education the year that I started, within like 3 months at AFCI, and went out to take those courses. I provide services of all types to filmmakers making films and projects in Otero County. And the intent and the mission of this office is to grow the local film economy by film services, also public awareness and education about film in Otero County. Next slide, please. Yes, next slide, please. Okay, this one, I may have to get a little bit closer so that I can read this off to you. This is the Almsburg Economic Development Study. It was commissioned by the New Mexico Film Office and Governor Lujan Grisham. It's on the film industry in the last 18 months. And what has happened in the last 18 months is the film industry has generated $1.5 billion of direct production spend in New Mexico in just 2 fiscal years. This is outside money coming in from New Mexico. These are not New Mexico dollars. The rural spend, New Mexico rural communities saw $50 million in spend for FY22 alone, which includes over $37 million in Las Cruces. They had 3 feature films there, and nearly $10 million in McKinley and Chavez counties and the Mescalero Apache Reservation. I was able to hook them up with a company that was doing locations, and The Best Man was filmed over at Mescalero. And of course, where do they go for products, goods, and services? The closest nearby town, which would be us. And the trailer has come out for that movie. You can Google it on YouTube and see it now, and the movie will be coming out shortly. Strong employment numbers. The film industry supports some 8,000 jobs now in New Mexico, and we need more people for jobs in film. The average wages, this is the crux of what I have worked for years to have in our county. The median wage of full-time residential crew in New Mexico was approximately $32 an hour in calendar year 2022. The median wage in all other New Mexico industries was approximately $18 an hour. So those industry wages that are paid out, if we had 2 film crews that could be working full-time, we could raise the median income, because a regular IATSE worker makes $80,000 a year, puts their kids in college, has a dental plan, and has retirement. They work 200 days out of the year, and they have 165 days a year off, because that is time between projects. But that is the kind of economic impact it would have to, on our income in our county if we could have more film here all the time. And that's always been my dream, to have 2 film crews working full time. We have committed film partners in the state. Studios such as Netflix, NBC Universal, and 828 Productions, they have each made 10-year partnerships with the state and are investing in soundstage infrastructure, creating thousands of jobs, and committing to $3.25 billion in spend in the next 10 years. This industry is not going away. It is getting bigger all the time. Desert Light Film Festival is one of the things that Netflix has been helping us with. They joined us last year. Our keynote speaker was the general manager of the studios in Albuquerque, the Albuquerque Q studios that Netflix bought. Average tax credit amount. The average tax credit paid on the New Mexico production spend is just 18%. We offer for rural filmmaking an up to 30% incentive back on every dollar spent on New Mexico goods, products, services, and residential crew. For all the productions that come to the state, we have only paid out 18 cents on every dollar we have gained. Now that is definitely a win-win and far below the incentive that we have promised, because a lot of times they're not claiming the incentive, and we're still keeping track of the spend regardless. Gross receipts tax. You know that's important. Everyone operates off of gross receipts tax, all government. From FY20 to 22, New Mexico captured an estimated $86.14 million in GRT. This is based on blended gross receipts tax rate of an estimated 7.96, because every community is different. So that's the average median rate. The return on investment, ROI, is important. If you know anything about tourism and return on investment when you advertise, for every dollar invested through the state's film incentive program, the benefit to the state economy is almost $8. That means for every film dollar that is spent in your community, it is turned around and spent 7 more times. They pay for products, goods, and services. Those business owners pay their workers pay their rent, buy their groceries, buy their gas, and live in the community. And that is how many times film dollars get spent within a community. So this was some really great information for us to have about economic development and how it can affect our communities. Next slide, please. Here's the present situation. Despite the recent pandemic, the New Mexico film industry remains strong. Otero County's film economy is high fashion photography, car commercials, products promotion, travel TV, music video, and feature film. There is exciting news. Senate Bill 12 has passed New Mexico Senate Committee and is moving forward in the legislative process. If this bill is passed, this bill provides an additional 10% rural uplift to existing incentives. Rural is any area in New Mexico where there is not a formal studio or a production facility. If passed, it will total a 40% film incentive for location filmmaking in rural locations like Otero County. If this gets passed, I expect our film business to burgeon immediately, because that will bring feature film down here way more often. And the next item is at the bottom of this. I'd like to show you a short clip. It's a little 3 minutes and 53 seconds, I think. But the New Mexico State Film Director called and asked if I would put together a list of locations for rural filmmaking that I knew of in this part of the state. Would I help their filmmaker come down because they want to help the rural areas to get more film down and more economic development down in their area? She said, would you work with this filmmaker and help him to line up the contacts he needs, all the locations he needs to film, and make this film for us? Because we intended to show it to every studio that comes in looking for locations, every project manager that's approaching us. And I said I'd be glad to do that. So I helped him, Mikhail Frazier is the filmmaker, and I helped them put together this list and get him into all of the places that he wanted to go. You'll recognize some of them. Some of them you may not recognize, like the view from the windows at the lodge in Cloudcroft, but you might. There we go. There it is. Yeah, click on that link right there. You may have to skip the ad. No, it looks like it's going to start. Yeah, you can roll it back to the beginning.
It is no mystery why generations of artists have been drawn here and have been drawn here to draw here. Whether it's inside a saloon at high noon or the way our mountains peak and play peekaboo with the full moon, it is no mystery why here is the perfect place to pay attention to detail, where you can actually hear yourself think in the middle of a wide open mesa, where you can actually see yourself in the face of every person you meet. Every patio a self-portrait of the perfect morning. Any direction a masterpiece in the making. It's no mystery how every single generation of viewfinders have found here, where even the dirt is so gorgeous pigments are ground here, where motion picture is just an elaborate phrase for sky, where any hyperbole about the horizon is absolutely warranted and storytelling is just a way of life. And when we eventually tire of perfect impersonations of other places, we always find ourselves back in a state that is unmistakably us. It's no mystery why here could easily be the star, but prefers to play a bit character and steal the scenery instead, where people still believe in miracles, and have been doing so long before shadows ever found their way to the first silver screen, where it is hardly unthinkable for a person to put a dream in a box, only for another person to take that box home and put it on a wall and call it streaming. It is certainly no mystery, no memoir, manuscript, nor fiction. Here, beaches without oceans really do exist, and we believe close encounters of every kind are more than just a figment of a filament, where the sunlight makes everything look 4K. And the weather makes every today a good day. Here, where the land remembers and reminds, where the past and the future arrive at the same time. Here, where enchantment is mundane, where there's a magic word for all the impossible things we're going to make possible this week, and that word is Monday. It's no mystery as to why anyone would want to eat, pray, play, love, laugh, and labor here, where it's hard to tell the difference between the work week and the weekend. So we make the best of both worlds until the week ends. It's a living and a life, and has always been, long before anyone with a paintbrush or camera came to frame it. But you are in luck. Here is not just natural. Here is supernatural. A perfectly broken Adobe fourth wall postcard that you can walk right on into and become part of the furniture. Let here forever rearrange the landscape inside you, because here is no mystery, unless of course you want it to be. Here is a memory, home of the makers, where memories are made by light.
Everyone that helped them to make the film. So I wanted you guys to get a chance to see that. Could we go back to our presentation and to the next slide? That's only been finished and been out for 2 weeks. You are some of the first people to ever see that, besides the filmmakers they're showing it to. next one. There you go. These are just some pictures from 2022 of productions out on White Sands. The first one is a fashion shoot. The second one is a car commercial. The third one, I believe, was a music video. And this one was a cabbie catalog shoot. It's high fashion. And they even had their ranger pose with them. So just to give you an idea of the size of the crews that come in, they have to buy fuel for their vehicles. They have to get lodging for everyone in the crew. They have to get a caterer on set. I've got several caterers that work with film. And all of the products, goods, and services that they need here locally go out to all of our business owners and our restaurants and our hotels here in town. And the last slide is Kevin Barr. He was the general manager at Netflix Studios that came to Desert Light. Desert Light, this is our 20th year. We can go to that. And I just chose some pictures down through the years for you. Back in the beginning, Jesse Casto at JCPenney's was our original supporter. Then we went to Baja Broadband and TDS. Barbara Mick is still the gracious manager that funds all the prizes for Desert Light. There's a picture of Kevin doing his keynote last year. We had a puppeteer named Sean Darling that does the Dark Crystal, that did a keynote for the kids in the wide shot where you see the gentleman on stage. And then the late Michael Lennick made several movies here in the Tularosa Basin. And he was a military documentarian and a deep space documentarian that we worked with. And he did a keynote for us at Desert Light as well. We have great news about Desert Light. We're making our 20th year a real celebration. Netflix came on board last year. I have a very good friend at Netflix who used to be the director of the New Mexico Film Office. He's in charge of special projects, Nick Maniatas. And I asked him for them to start participating if they could. He's out in LA, but he was able to get Kevin to come and do our keynote last year. They're working with us again this year, and NBC Universal Studios approached us and sent us an email and said they would like to be a part of Desert Light Film Festival as well. So the idea right now that we're trying to schedule would be for a representative from Netflix, a representative from NBC Universal, and this would be some producer or manager of projects, and the New Mexico Film Office Director, Amber Dodson, all come and do a panel where they discuss the New Mexico film industry, all the projects that they're working on, and tell the kids about the film industry for the studios. So we're hoping that that can happen. Our keynote speaker is Don Foster. He is a very prolific screenwriter and a comedic television series writer. He wrote for Greg and Dharma, Mike and Molly, and 2.5 Men. He's an Emmy Award-winning writer. He's actually from Alamogordo, and he's coming to do the keynote for us this year. We've been trying to get him for a very long time, and he's been very busy. So our other keynote is going to be Erin Quigley, and Erin is an underwater photographer, and she teaches cinematography underwater to other underwater cinematographers because she does shipwrecks and reef investigations and undersea diving projects on the same level as the Titanic and others. So she's in the Maldives, and we're going to do a remote, but do a presentation that's live with her on remote. So that's what's going on this year. And you guys know I start working on that usually in September each year, and I go to all the schools and do presentations and show them films from the previous year, tell them about the categories, get them into the competition, and tell them to come and spend the day with us because they'll learn seminars that teach filmmaking skills and get them started on a filmmaking path. And these are middle school and high school kids. And there is no other film festival in the state of New Mexico for middle school and high school that ever recurs on any kind of a recurring basis. We are it. And we have schools, 36 of them, that come from all over. Mostly the ones that attend the competition and the festival day awards are the ones who have won some of the categories. But we have a lot of students that come from all over. This year, Lovington's bringing 40 kids. Our top has been 440 kids that won. We're trying to build back up to that. We had 300 last year. And so it's coming back into its own again. Next slide, please. Requested endorsement. I'm requesting the continuing county endorsement for the Otero County Film Office and me as the liaison to the New Mexico State Film Office. You guys have signed the letter of endorsement, and that actually puts me in as the person that they go to in this area, in this county, to help all the filmmakers, and that makes it my jurisdiction. A governmental entity has to sign off for a person to represent a county. You want to be the person that the county wants to have addressing that. I'm requesting that the Otero County Film Office be placed within the New York Avenue County Office Building. I foresee if SB 12 passes that we're really going to get very busy. This is just a part-time, not a full-time position. So working half days in some manner would be the expectation there. Requesting office equipment, which would entail like a desk and file storage. I'd love to be able to have those on file where I could pull up what was done at certain times for other projects, that the same location scout is bringing me again a different project. What did I do for him last time? And I'd love to be able to have those like at fingertip where I could see that kind of thing. And file storage would take care of that. And then just office supplies. And they do one annual training for the film liaisons. And I will confess to you that the state is always asking me to train new liaisons, to give them copies of our paperwork so they can see what a good registration looks like, to find out what is going on when someone comes in to make a movie, a commercial, or a music video in your jurisdiction. Film liaisons from all over the state in rural areas will call me and say, I have this sort of situation, what do I need to do, you know, and what do I need to tell the property owners at this location? And I will help them out with that and say, well, you know, this is what I would do, and normally this is the protocol. Go to your handbook and check your liaison directory handbook, and it's all right there in it for you, you know, but here's the form that I formulated for my office, and I help them. So I do like going to that annual training because we get an update on what's coming in and what might be available that we could lure down into our area when they call us and are looking for locations. So I've been doing monthly reports. I have a stack of them at home like this over the last 4 years. I outline what I do every single day and how many hours I spend on film, and I turn that in to the county manager. She is graciously oversees everything that I do, and I will continue to do those monthly reports. I am requesting to continue the film education for Desert Light Film Festival, Netflix and NBC Universal, and volunteering participation in Desert Light Film Festival that is held at NMSUA. I did Career Day at Cloudcroft yesterday, and I'm always trying to teach our kids about the fact that they don't have to go to LA to work in film. They don't have to go to studios in Canada. My son contemplated going to Canada to be in the film industry, and they don't have to. It's here, and we can help them get their foot in the door and find a trainee position like you get into.
And Commissioners, before you vote on anything, RB and I have been looking at this request, and I would ask that you table the office and funding item of this, as he's still researching legally how we can provide her with county funds. We want to make sure we don't violate the Anti-Donation Act. And if we determine we can legally do this, we still have to come up with an agreement between Otero County and Ms. Waffle before you can vote on that.
Okay, so today we would just vote on her being the.
The endorsement letter.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Just
And-
put out
and-
one thing. The participation of the constituents of Otero County. You know, they often reach out to use the private properties or even some of the items that somebody owns. We have participated in Book of Eli and 2 of the Transformers movies too. So, and that's always fun for a business to be part of that and then watch the movie and see your cars or whatever you have in the movie too.
It is. It's great. And Brett Young, the music video that we did of White Sands for Mercy that I showed 2 years ago when I did my last presentation, that has been viewed over 200 million times. We couldn't pay for advertising for 200 million people to watch something filmed at White Sands, but that music video has done it for us.
That was a good video. Very good video. All right, any more questions? Anything? No? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The endorsement's straightforward. That is, it's required that one of the local governments does endorse the film liaison and establish one for the area. On the other things, I'd ask that before next month, you think about what you would like to provide and what you'd like to see in the agreement. The film office and the film liaisons, they fall under the Economic Development Department. This supports economic development. So we are able to support that. But what we need to look at is the scope of what you want that to be. It could be from as limited as the endorsement to a full-on contract with Ms. Waffle as an independent contractor to provide these services. And you could look at that. What a lot of other counties and cities in the state have, they have departments that we don't have. They have tourism departments or economic development departments. We don't necessarily have that. So their liaisons are already county employees or city employees. We don't have that in place unless you were to choose to establish something like that. That's something you can consider too, is if you wanted to establish and pay for a full film liaison office. So that's kind of the feedback I need is what you're thinking for this agreement, and we can discuss what those different possibilities would mean for the county budgetary-wise and resource-wise.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, I make a motion for Jan Waffle for us to renew the letter of endorsement, appointing her as the New Mexico Film Office Liaison. And we're going to table the rest of it until we get more information. I get a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to move on to our commission discussion and correspondence. Commissioner Matherly?
Yeah, first of all, we had a meeting with Pamela, RB, Representative Madrid, and Bree Watkins. It was with the USDA. Is a study what they're doing in Chaparral on a wastewater management plant and installation of sewer lines and stuff in Chaparral. Right now, it's just in the study stages. If I remember correctly, it was like $11 billion and they had for this funding. That's not just Otero County, that is a county-wide deal that they're doing these studies on in the rural areas. Last Monday, went to another one of the community meetings in Chaparral. Last week, we met with the Forest Service, NMSU, the Goss family. All three commissioners were there. Our attorney, Nichols, was there. It was over some of the Forest Service issues. I really felt there was probably more progress made in this meeting than any of them in the past. So I felt good about it coming out. Now, whether it carries on, well, that time will tell. Been listening to some of the House bills and stuff going on. I won't voice my opinion on some of them. I have given input to the senators and representatives off of a bunch of other ones. Like I stated a couple of weeks ago, Trent and Nina took us through a tour at the new jail facility. If anybody ever gets a chance, you ought to go. It's really nice. You went out last week too, huh? They have. I just wish we can figure out a program to get some type of a hiring service to where we can utilize the whole facility. And the last thing, I just wanted to wish my wife happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Cheryl. Should we sing happy birthday?
should.
Let's sing. Let's sing the happy birthday to Cheryl. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
birthday
to you.
Boy, that's terrible. Let's start over. Okay. Is the film office still here? Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Cheryl. Happy birthday to you.
And many more. You've earned your place in heaven putting up with this one. Is that what we did? Okay.
Okay, it's been a busy month. I have been, can you hear me? Do I have this thing back where it was? Okay. I have been working towards my certification as a county commissioner and public official. I took 4 classes and successfully graduated those. Have another one at 1 o'clock today. One of my most exciting announcements is the Broadband Summit. Otero County is going to be hosting 12 different counties, Region 6 for broadband development. It was scheduled for March 20th, and luckily we get to move it to April, and I say that because the engineer's application has been accepted. So now we are changing the scope of the presentation and teaching of the mapping towards all the broadband developers so that we can actually expand the mapping of the need. Targeting areas like La Presida Canyon, La Luz Canyon, Cottonwood Canyon, the schools. We have even Alamogordo Public Schools that don't have internet service. They have to go with Starlink in order to get internet at some of the schools, so hopefully we can include them. And then also south of like Ocotillo, Canyon Road and all of that, they don't have very good internet, so we're going to target those areas initially. But economic development, with 12 counties coming in, staying overnight, we're going to try and make it so they can come in on a Sunday, spend a class on Saturday, and spend their money here. And I have partnering businesses that are giving away goodie bags and sponsors. So I'm excited about that. And so if you're a techie, we know that Otero County is going to be there. But if you're in part of this broadband development world, everybody's welcome to come. I've been visiting monthly to learn a lot about the county, every single department. And again, I cannot say how great our department heads are, our departments are, and how it's great to sit down and visit. Julianne, I probably spend the most time with, probably about an hour, asking all kinds of questions about the payables. So those that think that I just vote to approve the checks, I don't. I analyze them and why are we writing this check? I've been attending the soil and water conservation meetings. They're a pretty fantastic group over there as well. They are working on the noxious weeds right now and getting that program up and running, which they coordinate with Tom to do everything, so that's very positive. Went to the forest meeting, 100% Otero, that was an all-day summit, and I attended that and really learned a lot. My focus with the behavioral health and everything that we're trying to do in the housing, I really think that we can help with the housing side of things and the transitional from either the mentally ill to jails or something. That's another program I'm excited. I've been going to many different fire departments, just trying to see what some are doing, aren't doing, and we have some very good fire departments with examples of how things should be done. I'm going to be hosting 2 volunteer recruitment events, one of them April 15th at Borough Flats, and we chose April 15th because that's tax day for one. And we're going to be having a taxpayers ball, B-A-W-L, and we're going to be asking everybody to bring in your poor man's chili and dress like a hobo so we can judge your chili. Dress as like a hobo, so good after paying your taxes, that's all we can do. We're gonna let people look at that fabulous facility. The Borough Flats Fire Department is just beautiful, and maybe we can play with a water hose. I gotta talk to the attorney with that, or but just we have to get volunteers, and I think if we make this fun, make it free hamburgers, free hot dogs, and just bring the people in, they'll want to get involved. Jackrabbit Flats is going to be my next event, and I'm going to try and do that at the end of April, beginning of May, something like that. And that's all I've been doing.
All right. After our last commission meeting, I left the next day for the National Association of Counties Conference in Washington, D.C. I was there from February 10th through the 15th, and I was put on the Environmental, Energy, and Land Use Committee. And the reason I wanted to be on this board was because of the land use part of it. I was very busy while I was there, attended many meetings, and actually had a face-to-face meeting with Randy Moore, who is the chief of the United States Forest Service. And since meeting with him, it does appear that we're getting a little bit more communication with the Forest Service. And so if that's true and that continues, it will be well worth my trip. I got home from D.C. on a Thursday, and I headed to Santa Fe on Friday for a New Mexico Association of Counties board meeting. I attended the Otero County Solid Waste Authority special meeting, and then we've been talking about this Forest Service meeting that Commissioner Matherly and Varela were at with me. And we have representatives from the Forest Service, Travis Mosley, Bob Foxworth, and then NMSU has a Forest Improvement Task Force who has Sam Smallage and Casey Spackman. And the information they provided was really interesting. They literally showed that the issues on our forest in the grazing is not the cattle, it's the elk. The Forest Service doesn't have any jurisdiction over the elk, that's game and fish. So all the Forest Service can do is cut back on the cattle numbers to make it look like they're doing something to comply with the Center of Biological Diversity. They're trying to keep them from suing them over this mouse that's showing that the Forest Service is doing something. But in all of that, 4.5-hour meeting, it all tied up in a little bow. That's what's happening. They're punishing our ranchers when in fact it's an elk issue. So we're going to have another meeting on, I attended a Zoom meeting a couple of days ago with the 4 counties that are involved with this. It's Otero, Lincoln, Chavis, and Eddy. RB was on the Zoom meeting with me and Margaret Byfield. And we're in the process of setting up a meeting with the 4 counties. It's going to be in Roswell. It's either going to be the 10th or it's 2 Mondays, 10th or 17th, I think, of April. We haven't picked one yet, depending on who can come to what, but we're going to get representatives from the Forest Service and hopefully a Washington representative there, someone from Game and Fish. And we're also going to ask, I reached out to Sam and Casey from the Forest Improvement Task Force within MSG to see if they can come, because their information was very valuable. And then we're going to invite all the ranchers and the allotment owners that are involved. And we're also going to plan on having some media there. We're working on getting some people to cover it. And like I said, it's going to be in Roswell. We're working on a location because their commission chamber won't be big enough to handle the crowd that we're expecting. So as I get a definite date and location, I'll let everybody that I can get a hold of know about it. RB, Spike, and Kelly Goss, Margaret Byfield, and myself were interviewed on the Brennan House TV show. We're really trying to get the word out to the whole nation about the situation of that's happening to our farming and ranching community here in New Mexico. And then I attended the National Association of Counties Environment, Energy, and Land Use Zoom meeting yesterday. And so I think we've all had a pretty busy month since last month. And then on a kind of a personal sad note, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you will know, but Junior Darty passed away. I got the message yesterday. So he's passed away. So that's a big loss. And for you that don't know him, Junior was a well-known fiddler from our area, and he was known quite a while nationwide. He was a pretty big deal. So he's a good family friend, and we're having too many of these lately. But I just want to let you guys know that Junior did pass. So that's all I have.
On a question, RB, on that note, the meeting in Roswell, as long as we did notice of quorum, that all three commissioners can appear, that right?
Right, because we won't be voting on anything or
No.
anything, just the information.
Okay.
So Pamela?
And Commissioners, at the last meeting, I had told you that I had asked our solid waste consultant to look into our weed convenience center issue with the horses getting into the roll-offs. He brought back a proposal with 3 options. Before I bring it to you, I'm having our fire chief and Matt look at these options to see if they impede operations of the fire department. There were also some inaccuracies in there. So we're still looking into that before I bring it to you to make any decisions. Then La Luz Gate Road, I've been working with Gerald in looking for some funding. I have been working with Senator Lujan's office with one of his staff members. There is some availability to apply for funding, congressional district spending with the Appropriations Committee with the federal government. I have completed the application process for requesting funding from Lujan. I just got word this morning I can apply with Senator Heinrich and Congressman Vasquez, so I have until the 15th to complete those applications. So Vasquez did note that they can only submit 15 projects to the Appropriations Committee, so it is tough, but we're going to give it a try to see if we can get funding for that project.
That would be good news.
Good morning, Commissioners. First thing I want to talk about is opioid settlement agreements. Over the last year, there's been several lawsuits nationwide that were settled with opioid producers and pharmacies that had a hand in shaping the opioid epidemic across the nation. New Mexico got money from that. The state's taking a certain percentage, but each county and some cities were able to also opt in and get money from that. We've opted in and we've received money and will continue to receive money over, I believe it's a 20-year period. So I wanted to bring that information to you. The amount is not huge, so it's not going to be enough for us to build our own treatment facility or something. But there are 6 counties that are pooling their funds to potentially develop a treatment facility. And I can send you that agreement and probably put it on the agenda next month for your consideration. So what we need to determine is, do we want to keep those funds here in the county, or do we want to pull our resources with these other counties and see what can be developed with that? To date, we've received about $334,000. There are uses. So as part of the settlement agreement, there's very limited application of the funds. So you can put them towards education, certain health treatment programs, and providing new syringes, things like that. We can't just put it wherever we want. So I'll provide that information to you as well. With that, there are certain programs in the county that could benefit, and I've reached out and in the process of reaching out to various entities to see how we could use it. The Sheriff's Department has reviewed it, and they could potentially take $50,000 of that money and be able to fund their DARE program for the next 4 years. So those are the type of considerations on what we can do with it here. But I will send you more information on that. On land planning issues, on Tuesday, I met with Margaret Byfield and attorney who is expert on the Endangered Species Act. It was a very productive meeting. He's reviewed some of the actions that have been taken in the Lincoln National Forest on some of the allotments, in particular on the Sacramento Grazing Association allotment, and he sees issues with how those processes were conducted, and he's, with his team, continuing to dig into that and going to give us an assessment of that and potential options. They're doing this at no cost to us, so I'm excited about where this could go and how it could help us. As far as the elk issue and its relation to the Endangered Species Act, he didn't give anything solid on that, but he said potentially getting the Fish and Wildlife Service involved might be possible, making them aware of it, and maybe getting them to put some pressure on the state. So I'm gonna explore that and see what points of contact there are, and maybe reach out and see if that can get any traction. After our meeting last Tuesday at the Forest Service, Travis Mosley and I talked about, he reached out about meeting and discussing the coordination agreement that we sent him last year, and he wanted to get together and work on that, so I followed up with an email, and we have a tentative date scheduled of March 21st to meet and go over the language in that and see what changes need to be made so that we can come to an agreement and have some working framework for our interactions with the agency and the actions they're taking in the county going forward. So that's good. I met with Wendy from Wilson and Company on the Lawless Gate Road project. The grant, the Defense Community Infrastructure Program that we applied for last year, we're working on this year's application. The announcement for that grant should be coming out anytime now, sometime this month. As soon as we get that, we'll take the information we've been working on, get with our partners at Holloman Air Force Base, and work on crafting that very crucial letter that is the key to getting that grant. The grant application will be due in June or July, so we'll have it ready to go by then. Lots to report. So, legislative matters. I didn't anticipate how much time I'd be spending on legislative issues. Being away from the state so long, I wasn't that familiar with how legislative process worked. Last year was a short session, and so it didn't require my attention much. This year's a long session. Before, I had thought they really need to meet longer, and that would be a really good thing so they could get things done. Now that I see them in a long session, I wish they would not meet for so long, because nothing good is coming of it. But bills of concern that we've engaged on are HB 399, which would force expansion to 5 commissioners. That passed its House committee on Friday and will go to the House floor. I don't believe it's been voted on. We'll continue to push on that and make our position known. SB 172, which would force the closure of our immigration processing facility out of Chaparral, is being heard now on the Senate floor. It passed through 2 committees, and the Senate's now voting on it. An email I wrote has been passed around to all the senators, and hopefully that may put a stop to it, but we'll know soon. And if it gets passed there, then it'll, of course, go to the House, and we'll engage with the committees there. So my legal assistant, with the position we created, we got our hire, and Jay, she started on the 20th. It's going great. She's very knowledgeable and a huge asset already. It's great. With that position, I was hoping that I would have less work because I'd have someone helping me. Instead, we're just accomplishing more, and I have more work. So I have mixed feelings about that, but it's good for you and it's good for the taxpayers. Like I said, on code enforcement, working on building a system for that, putting the first case through the court system, as I stated earlier. We'll have the arraignment for that on Tuesday. We'll see how that goes. But that's mostly what I got.
Everybody's been busy. Okay, does anybody have anything else? All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.